Well, happy April, Colorado. We're sitting here. We're going to record the March updates for what's going on up and down the Front Range between Pueblo, Springs, Denver, and Northern Colorado. My name is Chris Lopez. I've got my great panel of Envision Advisors agents from our respective markets to come talk to us about some stats that we're seeing, come talk about some deals that they've done the last, few weeks or last month or so. And of course, if you want all the details for the stats, numbers, or graphs, go to the show notes on the blog post and you can see all the stats on there to get all the numbers. If you want any help on putting a deal together or getting more of these deals that we're talking about, reach out to our agents on here. So starting from the south, we have Jenny Bayless talking Pueblo and Springs. Hey, Jenny, how are you?
Great. How about you guys?
Doing really good. Going up the Front Range, we got Preston Newberry up here in Denver.
How's it going, Chris?
Really good. And then going up 25 more, we got Newt Wyler up in Loveland and doing Northern Colorado. Hello, Newt. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right. So we got stats. We got deals. We'll start down south again with you, Jenny. Give us a high level for just price, activity, and the stats that jumped out to you.
Yeah. So what was most interesting was price and sales. So sales month over month change, meaning from February to March, went up 40%. And it's only down about a few hundred units from this time last year, which I found very interesting because we were really kind of treading water for the last couple months in terms of sale volume. And then what also jumped out to me was median sales price month over month went up 4.5% from February to March. We're still down 3.2% from March of last year, but the gap that we talked about last month is getting closed in. So I wanted to take a look real quick just for some benchmarking. And June of 2022 was the highest median sales price at $495,000. And last month, February of 2023, was the lowest median sales price of $440,000. And now we're back up to $460,000 for median sales price. So I thought that was really interesting that, it's still going to probably reflect a negative year over year, at least through June, for sure. I can't imagine it would, balloon up that point. But I just thought that it was interesting that the gap is getting thinner compared to where we kind of thought that the stats were going to land.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think that's just reflective, Jenny, of kind of what's going on in the market? I know we've started to see an uptick in activity, especially up here in Denver, but are you seeing the same thing in the Springs?
Absolutely. Yeah. People are out shopping. I don't know, exactly the sentiment behind it, but I don't know if people just need to move or what the deal is with that. But yeah, very interesting. You wouldn't really think it would be as strong as it is with all the negative headlines and everything.
Yeah. And there's no crazy way you could tell, no crazy, because 440 to 460 month over month is a good sized jump, but no crazy sample size issues or sold a bunch of expensive homes or didn't sell a bunch of expensive homes or anything.
Well, I think based on what we're noodling through last month, that would be the average sales price, right? So that would strip that out. But the sales volume went up, so I imagine that it would capture a better population as opposed to just two sales at one at 440 and one at 460 or whatever. But I it seems appropriate based on the chart here.
And good point. You're talking median, so you're absolutely right. So I got another curveball thrown here for probably not this discussion, but future ones. So about 20 minutes before we were coming in to record the studio, I was leaving a meeting with Paul, investor, MBA in real estate, just brilliant guy. And he's like, hey, so for your monthly market updates podcast, why don't you use the Case-Shiller Index? And I was like, I don't know, Paul. He's like, well, it's got great data. Go look at Case-Shiller Index for Denver. So I didn't have time to look it up, but I'm going to look it up maybe while we're recording on here. But for the next one, I'm curious if you guys ever compared the local trends from our boards with the Case-Shiller Index. I have not.
I can't say that I have, no.
No.
Okay. Well, we got some homework for next time.
Yeah.
All right. So, Preston, what are you seeing up here in Denver as far as just stats?
I mean, as far as stats go, I think the biggest one for me is that inventory is increasing, and you'll see big headlines. I mean, you're 105% up over where we were year over year on active listings in the MLS, but that still only puts us at about 44 to 4,500 active listings. And I think we've talked about it a lot, but in a balanced market, we'd have somewhere around 12 to 15,000 active listings, right? So there's still low inventory, as we recently talked about. There's more buyer demand coming online right now. I think we're seeing a lot more activity, just boots on the ground, talking with my agents, doing the deals that I'm doing. There's a lot more activity. And I think that's the biggest thing we're seeing right now is like the numbers may not necessarily show it. And I'm excited to see what happens when we do our April update, because I think things are going to be a lot different than what we're seeing right now from March. There's been a lot of activity in the last 30 days.
So you're saying looking forward
Yep.
in a month, more volume, higher price increase? Is that what you're alluding to?
I think we're going to see higher deal count. I think we're going to see prices coming up a little bit. I know from the deals that we've been seeing that there's definitely been, like I said, a lot more activity and competition. Even though prices currently show that we're down, roughly about 5% year over year, I think that we're going to see things start to come back around as we move through the spring buying season. So,
okay. Newt, up north, what are you seeing? And I know, you've got probably the most geographically diverse market with different towns up there. But what are you seeing up north?
Yeah, we're seeing the volume is up. In the active listings are up, of course. All the sales, as far as the volume goes, we were up in every market basically. But it's interesting. We're seeing that in Longmont and in Greeley, the sales prices year over year from last March were down a little bit. Fort Collins and Berthoud, Loveland area were both up slightly. So it's just, I don't know, we're kind of all over the place up here.
I mean, were any of the markets like big ups or big downs, or are we talking a couple points either way?
Well, Longmont had an interesting, you and I talked about this a little bit, the negative 10.7% year over year from last March. So, that's a big swing, which, it was a little interesting to see, but especially last week, or since last month, we had it at 6.7% up, or 6.3 or something like that.
Yeah, that was, like you said, we talked about that for like 10 minutes yesterday. And I don't know, in our 10 minutes, looking at the numbers, and I couldn't piece together a story as to kind of what was that big swing for Longmont. That was just more, I don't know, it really piqued my curiosity. So I'm really curious to see how it plays out next month.
Yeah, but, Fort Collins, the median price has gone up a little bit more again. So it's tough to say. We've got a lot of different markets like Greeley. I would have expected to be a little bit higher in the median price since there's been a lot of activity over there, but it actually went down about it was 410 in February. It's down to 408 median price there.
Okay. So I think we're hearing similar stories throughout the markets, which is no surprise. And then something we were chatting about before, and Jenny, you brought up, was that the rental activity has picked up in a couple ways. Can you share what you said earlier?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously this is just anecdotal. Like, I don't have a large enough population of rental properties to speak for, the whole market or anything, but just observationally for a couple of properties that I've had turnovers in, I've had a ton of interest, ton of very qualified applications. I've, kind of pushed the boundaries a little bit on pricing, and it's a lot different than I feel like last year. Last year, it felt like there's a little bit more pushback. Not as easy to get an easy fill on a vacant unit. But I'm definitely feeling a little bit different this spring for sure.
Are any of these units you're filling up now, did they turn over this time last year, or like similar units, like for some comparisons?
Yeah, I mean, all my properties are somewhat similar to one another. I did have one duplicate unit, so one unit that was empty last year and this year. And this year, I mean, it went within several hours. Is
the rent the same, or did you keep the rent the same, or did you push rent some?
I pushed it a little bit.
Can you tell us what you were in for last year?
Yeah, like $30 difference.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, not significant, but the rent in general, I thought was pretty high. Like it's only a 2-bedroom home, but it's close to downtown, and in the 1800s, which to me seems very expensive, but I guess not compared to some of the other offerings out there.
Yeah, I am curious to see how all the rental data plays out this year, and like the activity is up. I mean, because obviously a lot of buyers out of the market. Well, they typically have to live somewhere. Now, some will get roommates, some go live with family, but then it pushes a lot of people back into the renter pool.
Exactly.
And that kind of mirrors that story. I'll talk about deals some. Preston.
Yeah.
What do you see going on right now? What do you have, or what have you seen when you put together last little bit?
No, I think, with the increased inventory and what we've got going on, I've had some buyers that have kind of come back out of the woodwork. We've started looking around. I just recently got a 2-bedroom condo in Parker under contract. They had a pretty significant price drop on it, and we were able to get it under contract even a little bit under that, which I was really happy to see. But the rental numbers look really, really good. Even talking with property managers and kind of pro forma some stuff. I mean, we're seeing 2-bedroom units in Parker and condos renting for $2,200 to $2,400 a month.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Is this like downtown Parker or just Parker in general?
Not downtown Parker. No, just Parker in general.
Wow.
Yeah, right near 470. And it's a nice complex. Got a 1-car garage. And it's under $400,000 for a condo. So
yeah. So why Parker? Because that's a rental market we don't talk a lot, or a market we don't talk a lot about in terms of rental properties.
So I think there's a lot of opportunity in Parker. I actually recently moved there, so I've been studying it a lot more and kind of learning more about it. And there's a decent amount of inventory, and I think that there's a ton of growth potential in Parker. There's still a ton of new construction going on. There's a ton of infrastructure going on. There's just a lot of growth going on down there. And the client that I'm working with doesn't live far from there, wanted something kind of close to home, first rental property, likes the area, wanted something, fairly turnkey and nice. And so all the cards just kind of fell into play, but the numbers work, and it's going to be a great deal for them.
What's the rough cap rate for?
We're going to be right around a 5 to 5.5, kind of depending on where we end up renting at and kind of how things play out with the garage, because that's
with property management. Mm-hmm. Okay, so 5 to 5.5 in a new or newish. I mean, how old is it?
It was built in 2007, I think.
Okay, so pretty new still.
New still, yeah.
All right, so new place, turnkey, and Parker.
Yep,
and then it's a low 5 cap rate.
Low 5 cap rate. Got to go in and put some new carpet in. Other than that, it's going to be ready to put on the market.
Okay, awesome. Jenny, what about you? What are you seeing down? My guess is in Pueblo. What are you seeing in Pueblo?
Yeah, so favorite deal at the moment. Leah has it under contract with a client of ours. It was an off-market duplex in the Belmont neighborhood, which is, we do a lot of deals in Belmont. It's right next to CSU Pueblo, all that good stuff. I believe they're buying it for $315,000. So that's pretty good for a duplex, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially in, the Belmont neighborhood, which is pretty popular with tenants and everything. So yeah, we're expecting a high 6 cap on this property.
Okay, so high 6 cap. And is this what do the rents go for? Is this typically more like a college rental, room by room rental, or just kind of like a standard long term?
So it's funny that you mentioned that, because it's currently being rented as a room by room rental, and the client is going to turn it into a long term. Each unit have a long term tenant in it. So $1,200 and $1,400 is the estimated rents for this one.
Okay, so great.
Yeah.
So duplex down there, and on that, it sounds like the numbers work pretty well for that rent to price ratio, right?
Yeah.
At a high 6 cap rate.
It's all, was it 0.85? I don't know. I can't do math in my head, but pretty close.
Is that one of the, are you going to do a deal analysis on the Springs podcast?
Oh yeah. When this one closes, we will. Yeah. But the inspection turned out really well. So they should be closing any day now, I think.
Yeah. I want to see the numbers on this one, like the detailed numbers.
Yeah.
Cool. That's great. All right. So condo up here in Parker, duplex rental down in Pueblo. And then Newt, what are you seeing up north in northern Colorado?
Well, actually, so we did touch on that client that we're working with in Vision Advisors. It's going to be selling off his current attached 3-bed, 3-bath in Thornton off of 136th and Holly. We're actually going to be going on the market next week on that. So we got to finalize the price, but I'll let you know more about that when it's there. But as far as that particular client, actually, he's looking at potentially we're looking at vacant land in the Superior area.
Interesting. Okay. What's the plan?
Yeah, we're thinking about there may be some building opportunity up there.
Really? Oh, that's really interesting. Because I think originally, if I recall correctly, I asked you this, like, hey, I think you're looking at some room by room rentals to maximize cash flow. Right. And now potentially pivoting towards, is that because he wasn't happy with the numbers on the room by room, or just because this opportunity popped up and it's like, wow, it's a really good opportunity?
There are some, there's some opportunities out there that may actually make sense just with the municipality not having too stringent of rules on the ADU and those types of things. As far as, Boulder County has some rules as far as the short-term rental that we're kind of looking into, but yeah, there's some things that might pop up that we might be able to make happen for them.
All right.
Sounds like a really cool opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, I know you've got a lot more. You got some experience with land, Preston.
Yeah.
What question should we pick on Newt's brain on this? I'm curious, but I don't know what to ask.
I mean, there's so many, right? And so much of it comes down to due diligence and working with each municipality and figuring out what it's going to take to get, all the infrastructure there, if it's not already there, as far as, roads and, utilities and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of costs associated with that. So just kind of depends on how developed the land is and what's going on there. And then, from there, looking at zoning and all the different regulations regarding what you can and can't build. So, it can be pretty thorough, but there's always opportunity when there's work put involved,
All right. Great. All right. So we went through stats, went through deals. We talked about rentals. I got my things checked off here. Do you guys have any other questions or comments or stats or deals or fun stories to share about?
Not really. I think I'm just excited about where things are going. I mean, obviously, over the last quarter of last year and first part of this year, things have been a little bit slower, but we're definitely starting to see an uptick in activity, and, interest rates have kind of chilled out a little bit. So people are more comfortable with that, and we're into the spring buying season. And so I think there's just a lot of pent up demand that we're starting to see come back into the market. And I think it's going to be a really, really good time to buy, and it's going to be a good spring season for us.
Okay. Jenny, Newt, thank you guys. Any final thoughts, stats?
Well, I was actually just thinking about how it seems like you guys are starting to get a little bit of a rush over us. And, I'm starting to see that the days on market have gone up in almost all of these markets up here by about 20 days year over year from last year. So it seems like it's a slow start for us up here.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Cool. Well, everyone, appreciate you coming out and listening. If you want the detailed stats on here, go to the blog post. We've got all the stats copied on there, and we've got more stats if you need it. If you have a particular question, reach out to us. We always love taking the questions, debating the best data to look at. If you got a data point you want to know more about or a suggestion, let us know. That's what we like to learn and debate about. And then Newt, Jenny, Preston, thank you guys for coming on the call for 30 minutes. I appreciate it. We'll see you all next month. Bye, everyone.
See ya.